we start going, we're hauling ass there, I'm driving, and I pull up, and we just missed the shots getting fired, and we pulled up, and the bad guy had he came out of the bank with an AK, shot at some officers that were hiding behind their cars. He carjacked somebody, took off, and then next thing you know, my trainer's like, well, let's go get him. So we're sitting there hauling down 12th Street, and the adrenaline's going, and it's a pretty good little car chase. And I remember, and it's the little things, but I remember going down 12th Street, and back then the shotgun was kept on the driver's side, and I remember my trainer was like, give me the shotgun. So I'm driving, trying to get it, and it's stuck in the steering wheel. We finally get it out, nothing bad happened. It was a good deal. I remember getting pats on the back, hey, good job, rookie. So that my head got a little big from that. I know in the past 10 years how much I've seen growing. There's so many groups out there. I know there's a lot more people we have coming up, that we have planned to talk to that deal with specifically treating the head in between the ears of officers, and that's very important. People out there listening, we get there and they get to hear more of these officer stories about struggles and stuff they've gone through and stuff they've thought about. I hope that we can always let these people know there's always hope, that there's always a light. You got to hold on to that light, that hope that you're going to get through the bad times. I know you and I have talked about some things that you can have the hardest, toughest exterior, but there's no telling what's going on inside someone's head.
You're listening to the ATO Bridging the Divide podcast, brought to you by the Assist the Officer Foundation. Since 1999, the ATO has given assistance to the first responder community, and now we want to give a platform to hear their incredible stories. We also want to hear the stories of the many people that support us. Our community is small, but it is strong. We have differences. We don't always agree, and we all make mistakes. But together we can grow, we can heal, and we can learn from those mistakes. And together we can bridge the divide. Welcome to the ATO Bridging the Divide podcast. I'm Joe King. Today I have on a very special guest. I've been friends with him since January of 97. We both share our love for shenanigans, and we were both in our mid-40s, and we both act like we're 8-year-olds. He and I started the academy together in January of 97 in Dallas. He moved here from San Antonio, not knowing anybody, came here to become a cop. We graduated the academy. We had a lot of fun. He went to Southwest. He's worked Northeast Patrol. He's worked Operation Disruption. He was at the academy as an advisor, and now he works for the Dallas Police Association. I'd like to welcome on my good friend, Randy Aguilar. Randy, thanks for coming on.
Glad to be here. Good.
Are you though? All right.
It's going to be very hard to keep a straight face through this. I wanted to start laughing when you were talking, but I got to.
I know. I saw you cover your eyes when I'm talking. I didn't even really prep for your thing. That was really off the top of my head. So it was hard to look at. I couldn't look at you either.
You've probably had that memorized and practicing it over and over.
Well, you'll never know. You ready to dive into this?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. Randy, when you applied for DPD, were you the only department you applied for?
Yes. Back in early fall of 1996, DPD was down in San Antonio recruiting, and I was taking criminal justice classes down there, and they sent a flyer to the criminal justice classes, and one of my instructors said, "Hey, go through the process, see what happens. To give you some experience on how to apply for these types of jobs and what's going to go on. And, next thing I knew, I did it for experience and interview practice. And next thing you know, this was, mid to late October. Next thing you know, December, right after Christmas, I was driving up here for a physical. And then a week after that, I was hired by DPD. I started, and I didn't have anything to come up here. I moved up here with an apartment. The first week I lived here, I didn't have an apartment. The first night I stayed at Methodist Central guest room. I had an uncle that was in ICU there, and my aunt was staying at the hospital, so I stayed with her one night.
Wow.
Then I stayed with his in-laws one night. Then another family. It was crazy. I remember the first day of the academy, they're asking, what's your address? And I was like, I don't have an address. So, and I drove a little Volkswagen Rabbit up here, and I used to always laugh that in order to get up here, I had a fishing pole with a carrot in front of the rabbit to...
I remember that rabbit.
Yeah. So, but anyway, here we are, and that was my first week or two of the academy. Was pretty entertaining.
Yeah, the academy, we had so much fun, and I don't think, looking back, we really appreciated what it was. I mean, we became friends pretty quick, and we had a lot of fun. We did a lot of dumb shit, and I think all of us were just wanting to get out of the academy. We couldn't wait to get out of there, get on the streets, and do real work as opposed to running around with gun molds or learning penal code or traffic code. We wanted to get the hell out of there, and I don't think we really appreciated the friendships. I mean, to this day, you and I are one of my best friends, and I wish, and I hope young officers, if they listen to this, it's 8 months. It's long, and it's stressful, but I promise you, it is not any more stressful than the real world. And enjoy the academy, enjoy the friendships, make friends, and start your reputation there. And then that's going to follow you through the rest of your career, good or bad. And it's hard to shake a bad reputation. So, what was your favorite part of the academy, other than working with me in the academy?
I think just. I think everything was fun. I guess looking back now, hindsight's 20/20, and it's been almost 25 years. I think the best part of it now, it was so easy thinking about it now, and I think then we thought it was so hard. But just being there and learning stuff and making friends, and the training. I don't know how good our training was, because I think after that, like in 04, 05, I started training recruits, and I feel like they were so much more prepared,
more advanced
than for what we were when we got out of the academy. Now, and I'm sure training has gotten better, and not that they weren't teaching us anything. It just, I know things have evolved over the past 25 years since we've been police officers. I can't imagine what it's like having to wear a body cam now, so I know that's got to be something different. But I know things have changed. But the friends and the fun we had in the academy, it was so much easier thinking about it, just because it was a lot of fun. Like you were saying, I don't think we took advantage of it enough. I kind of hoped it was going to be like police academy, and I was going to live on some campus.
You want to be Mahoney?
Yeah, yeah, because we knew we had our tackleberries and everybody else. But yeah, it was
McDonald
good.
was our tackleberry, I think. I think he was our tackleberry.
Will he like that, though?
Yeah.
If he hears this?
Oh, he'll love it.
Okay.
He'll love it. He'll slap me when he sees me next, but he'll love it.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah. No, man, I looking back, and I was just watching our academy videos and seeing, McDonald, you and Webb and Salinas and, Flynn and Kinley, all those folks. And it brought back a lot of memories and, made me miss a lot of things. And, we're early 20s there. We didn't know shit. We didn't know how to be adults, much less be cops. We're given guns and all these powers that the police are given and expected to wield those powers in a proper way. But I look back and I miss that. I just wish I could talk to 22-year-old me and tell me to enjoy it.
Yeah, enjoy it more.
Yeah.
I used to always think about, people always ask what it was like being young officers. And I always tell people, we were 23, 24 years old, get on the street, then you go to domestic violence call. wasn't married. I didn't have kids,
Yeah.
but I was expected to solve some married couple's problems, and I'm sure it was the same for you. I'd listen to what my trainer said, and I just make bullshit up and say, okay, this is what you need to do, and become a counselor and trying to solve people's problems. But it was I always thought that was very interesting that I found myself in a situation, and these citizens were looking at me, hey, make this better. I'm thinking to myself, I don't know what the hell I'm doing. So
we're just making it up as we go anyway. I mean, that's, yeah, I know. And dealing with people that I had never seen some of the things. You get out there in the streets, the academy, we pose as bad guys.
It's
like
a controlled environment.
Yeah, it's controlled. It's stressful because you don't want to look like an idiot in front of your peers. But that's really the worst thing that's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you get out on the streets, you're dealing with real people, real problems, real suspects, and they're not your buddy trying to make you giggle during a scenario. They're real people that will hurt you if you let them.
I was always amazed too at 3 in the morning, 2 in the morning at Hampton, Illinois, and just the amount of people just wandering the streets. I'm sure it was that way in South Dallas when you went down there.
Yeah.
It was. I was always amazed about how I was used to going to bed. I mean, if I was up at 2 o'clock, it was because I was leaving a club or something. But then these people were just living the streets, and I always thought that was
never slept.
Well, they had to sleep sometime. I don't know.
Well, did they? No, when I went to Southeast, it literally was like. I started my first phase was deep nights, and there's no street lights at work in Southeast and Southwest too, and you're driving around, you don't know the geography, and I really felt like I was in Europe. I was in another country driving around, and it was just.
Were you on the wrong side of the street too?
I was. Yeah, I was. I had several wrecks doing that. I got downgraded every DR. So when you got out of the academy. You went to Southwest, and I wanted to go to Southwest just because I grew up over there and I knew the geography so well. And you went to Southwest, and you lived in Arlington at the time, right? Yeah, so that was closer to you.
Worked out well.
Yeah, it worked out great. I lived east, so I didn't go in Southeast, but I'm glad it happened out how it happened. But when you went to Southwest, what was that like for you?
I liked it a lot. I didn't know where I wanted to go. I do know this. I didn't want to go to Southeast. From what I'd heard, I mean, to me, I'm not going to lie, I was probably scared of it just because it was so much unknown. But now looking back at it, Southwest was very similar to where I grew up in San Antonio, and probably, because where I went to high school, man, we were probably about a third black, third white, third Hispanic. Mm-hmm. So, and I think parts of Oak Cliff could be that way in certain areas. Now, Southeast could have very well been that way, but I don't know. I think Southeast has always had a stigma of, that was kind of a little more wheels off than anywhere else. But, I mean, I'm sure, but it's all the same. It's, different zip codes and streets, but everybody's bad people in one neighborhood or bad people in another neighborhood. It doesn't matter what division you're at.
Well, parts of Oak Cliff, there's a lot of
nice homes,
big homes over there. But you go like 2 blocks over, then people are getting robbed.
Like, where the hell
they're robbed in the streets. I love Southwest growing up over there, and I really wanted to go there, not necessarily because I grew up there. I wanted because of geography. Yeah. And geography is such a big thing as a rookie coming out. You don't know the hell you're going. Mm-hmm.
Well, I got lucky. Well, and the good thing about Southwest, everything ran north and south and east and west, as opposed to, I think, Southeast was all fucked up. And same thing with Northeast. When I went up there, I had to figure out, there was a lake in the middle of the division. Yeah. So I had to figure out a way to get around that. So it was always, little things were off.
What do you remember most? Is there some incident that stood out in Southwest that you remember most?
I was on training. It was days. I started off from first. So I think it went from. We go first to third to second. First watch to third watch is days. Something maybe backwards.
It was jumbled up. No, some people went the days right off. It depends on.
But I started off on first watch, and then I think I went to third watch.
Oh, okay.
And I might have been third phase on days, and it was kind of a cold morning. I remember that day. My trainer was William Wesley, and I remember we were in Oak Cliff over there by the state streets, kind of border south. I was chasing some freaking dogs around.
It's good police work.
Yeah, some stray dogs, wild dogs around a neighborhood. And then after that, we're leaving there, and I'm going over like Ewing or Beckley near the zoo.
Mm-hmm.
And a bank, the alert tone comes out, and it's a bank robbery in progress. And we start going. We're hauling ass there. I'm driving, and I pull up, and there's a squad car parked there. There's an officer. I think his name was Danny Green, in uniform, hiding behind his squad car, and we just missed the shots getting fired. And we pulled up, and the bad guy had he came out of the bank with an AK, shot at some officers that were hiding behind their cars. He carjacked somebody, took off, and then next thing you know, my trainer's like, well, let's go get him. So we're sitting there hauling down 12th Street, and I'm like, fuck, this is real. And the adrenaline's going, and it's a pretty good little car chase. And I remember, and it's the little things, how we chased him through the snow. He just finally wrecked out and caught him. But I remember going down 12th Street, and back then the shotgun was kept on the driver's side on the floor, on the door. It was stupid. And I remember my trainer was like, give me the shotgun. So I'm driving, trying to pull the shotgun out of the thing.
As you're driving.
To get it, and it's stuck in the steering wheel. We finally get it out. Nothing bad happened. But it was a big incident where they caught him. So then, since police were shot at, no one was injured, thank God. But it was my first experience being with SIU. So they were investigating it, and I had to drive these old detectives around, like the exact route I took the car chase.
We explain to the listener what SIU is?
Special Investigations, I think it is, yeah.
Yeah, and they handle like officer-involved shootings and then high-profile cases, too, they handle, yeah.
Yeah, and since this was this is a bank robbery.
Yeah.
And there had been a bank robbery there at Southwest, like a couple of days, maybe a week or two before that. Danny Avalos, still in the department, he's a sergeant, and I think his trainer was Boo Bland.
He's actually over at SIU right now.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, yeah. So they just got shot at too, but their car actually got shot where none of us got anywhere near to being hurt or shot at. Anyway, I remember driving them, the direct, like, okay, tell us what you did here, tell us, and one of the things I remember cutting through, there was a backhoe on one of these little streets, and I remember I had to cut through a parking lot to get around it to go, and it was a good chart. That was a big thing. So I felt like getting a car chase out of the way early was a good thing, because I think a lot of police work is, the more you think about something, the worse things can happen when you just react and go and do.
Yeah.
You kind of go with it better, and it was a good deal. I remember getting pats on the back, hey, good job, rookie. So that was, my head got a little big from that. And
well, most everything you learn on this job is it's experience based. Yeah. I mean, think about it. You run off instincts. I mean, and then nowadays, honestly, there's some officers that have been out in the streets for like years, and they have not gotten car chases because our chase policy.
Well, the chase policy changed. Yeah. I can't imagine. I remember one of my trainers always said, well, we're going code 3, just use this as getting used to the adrenaline dump. Because I think one of the things too, no matter how much training you do, you can't ever get that. You can go in PVOC and all the driving stuff, and but it's a static environment. But having to get a real fear, real emotions, because I don't know, I've also been in car chases where I get out of the car, then 5 minutes later I can't feel my right leg because I was so much gas and pedal, that my leg's asleep because it was so much stress on it. But it was a good time. It was, and I think I was on the news. I think someone in San Antonio saw me on the news, and so it was a big deal. Yeah,
you are a big deal.
Yeah.
So, how many years did you spend at Southwest?
I left Southwest in 03, 02. I promoted to senior corporal, and I got on a transfer list. This was all pre-bid stuff. Then I went to Northeast, and I started training there, and trained a couple of people. Then I went to Disruption.
Yeah, what was when what chief started? Kunkel?
That was Kunkel, yeah.
Okay, he started Operation Disruption, and I remember that. There was a lot of very good quality officers that they put together, and kind of just describe what that was.
We would go, it was at the time we had lots of cops. It was
big.
The department was really big and it was growing, so they were able to do these things. And we had there was a third watch and a days, and there's probably 30, 40 on both.
Yeah, you want to have that these days.
There was probably 60, 70 people over there, and we were able to go all different hot spots all over the city and just to go saturate an area. The group I was in, we did a bunch of knock and talks, working drug complaints. Other places, we just go and work an area. I got exposed to South Dallas, and I don't know how you guys survive South Dallas. Where I'd spend a couple of nights, and I'm like, good gosh, this is suck the life out of you. I don't know how people.
Yeah,
it's horrible.
It is. It's depressing.
I think so, because I'd hear stuff about how just miserable some of you guys at Southeast was, and then I went there. It's like, oh my God, I can't imagine being. Southwest was okay, but when I went to Northeast, I was like, oh my God, people like us.
Good places to eat.
Good places to eat. I can get a 50 with a priority 2 call holding to where they wouldn't do that. I was kind of in shock the first time that happened. That my first day over there, I was riding with Sean Mosey. Hey, no, go ahead and mark out. I said, there's a call holding, and it was a 4001 or something, and she goes, no, go ahead, they'll say it. And I asked, and they said, okay, yeah, where are you going to be? And I was like, if that were Southwest, there's no way they would have let us eat. They would have made us take, you're cleared, take this call before you eat.
Yeah, you have to go call. Honestly, it's pretty bad right now. There's a shortage of officers. When you left Disruption, you went to Northeast?
I went back to Northeast.
Why did you leave Disruption? Did you just get kind of worn down? Or?
I think it was time. I think they were sending people back. And,
I got you. Okay.
I think my partner, our classmate Chris Webb, went to SWAT. I was there for a little bit, people, and then I was like, yeah, I'm ready to go back. And I think they were changing things, and I was ready to go back to patrol.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember it started off with a great mission, the Disruption, and it started changing over time. There was just some incidents that happened that it started, then they started realizing, damn, we're short on patrol, and they started sending people back.
Yeah.
So when you got to Northeast, you talked about the just way different geography and just the you got nice homes, you got some influential people that live there.
Yeah.
Great restaurants.
Yep.
And then you got some really bad crime-ridden apartments. I mean, they're just.
It was a lot working different because there were so many apartments. Where Southwest there was a lot of homes. Here it was having to work apartments were a little bit different. Trying to watch because there's so many hiding places and.
Well, the apartments bring up crime in any division. I mean, you got such a diverse group of people sitting in one. They're in one place. You got good people and bad people, and then some people are just opportunists.
Yeah.
And then they kind of will prey on each other. How long did you spend there?
I was there until September of 2010. But while I was there, too, I spent 9 months at the academy. I was a class advisor for Class 306. And I really enjoyed that. My ex-wife at the time was pregnant, and she was a principal in Oak Cliff, so we carpooled together. It was just really convenient because we were both in Oak Cliff. We'd drive to work together. I'd work out and run, and my plan was to go there and kind of study up and get ready for a sergeant's test. But I don't think it ever worked out that way. So
you've told me that the academy was one of your most rewarding spots.
I think it was a lot of fun. I had a pretty good class. There were some knuckleheads in there, and they knew who they are. But there were a bunch of good people that are there now. They've all done good stuff. They probably been on the department longer than I have now, or getting close to it. But I was, I really enjoyed doing that because it was very fulfilling. Doing things with them and learning stuff and
mentoring too. You're
mentoring. Yeah. It's a lot of fun. It was interesting to see how much more training they were getting than what we got back then. Well,
everything evolves. I mean, it's like, look at the computers we had when we hired on, and then now what they have now, and then the body cam. I mean, and then the old academy, I hear there was some of them were just like a matter of weeks, and then here we're on 8 months.
Yeah.
And I think it's still the same now.
33 weeks, maybe 36.
Yeah, it's a long-ass academy, but it's I've had people leave the department and they go work at other agencies, and they still say Dallas has great training. I mean, and you just got to look at it comparatively speaking for the time, but
Well, I think if we've had a few podcasts already, and I think it's gonna, those guys have talked about how well, they trained that they've left. So
Yeah.
probably wasn't supposed to say that, but it's
No, that's good.
it's they've gone, and I know we've had good guys leave here, and I've had friends or guys I worked with at Southwest that went to the Secret Service, to the Marshals, to DEA, to FBI. We got a classmate that's in the in FBI now. So I know people. It's a stepping stone here, but I never had any vision of doing that shit because I don't want to go through another stupid academy. And
yeah. So when you told me when you were at the academy and they got you something, right? When they graduated?
Yeah.
Tell me about it.
They got me something?
Yeah, you said they got you like a gift.
Yeah, it was a gun. Or they tell me
they give you the gun. Yeah, you told me about that.
Yeah. I thought
they got you a gun. Huh?
Yeah, like a little mini Glock. Yeah.
That's pretty nice.
Oh yeah. Usually, yeah. I was like, "Where's he going with this?" Well, no, because usually they get the class. I think
we didn't get our guys.
We didn't get him anything. Yeah,
no, we didn't get nothing.
Yeah, because I think things changed.
We were poor. We didn't have any money to give anybody.
Yeah. So hell, we were fighting over a goddamn flashlight holder with trying to get one person to.
Yeah.
But yeah, they were good to me. They took care of me. They got me. Even too, my daughter was born in there, and they got me a nice little basket for her when she was born. And then when they graduated, they gave me they all put in money, and I got this little pistol, little Glock. And sometimes I don't know if I was thankful enough to them or expressive enough, but I was very, and I think about that now. I think if I probably was speechless at the time, it was because I didn't really know what to say, but it was great that they did those things for me. But, I always looked at all of them. There was 30 plus kids, I thought of them as my children just because, I cared for them. I, taught them how to be just a regular person to be and how to be a cop. So it was
you're kind of like a shepherd role.
Yeah.
Do you have contact with any of them?
Oh, yeah. I still,
good.
Thankfully working here at the DPA, I get to see bunches of them all the time. And, they've all been good too. And that too, I'm pretty proud of the fact I think, man, 5 or 6 of them have been cop nominees. So, I think it's worked out really good.
I want to give a shout out to your daughter, Belen. Hopefully she listens. She's a sweetheart. She's a hell of a little athlete, and she's a good kid.
Thank you.
Looks just like you, except she's actually pretty.
Yeah.
So I have to thank you for pushing me on this podcast. There was times where I was just going to walk the hell away, and it was a lot of work getting off the ground, and then some other things come up that I was just going to just say the hell with it and throw in the towel. And you basically told me something to the effect of don't be a. Stop! I'm not going to say it.
We don't say it because
I'm
not even compared to John Gruden. But I don't want to.
Yeah, nobody.
And I never said any of those things, but I just.
Yeah, you told me don't be
so many words.
Yeah, don't be a something, and and I took it to heart, and I said, you know what? He's right. I'm going to work on this, and you have supported me in this from the get go, and pushed me actually. Because it's easy to sit and be lazy asshole and not follow through with something,
Yeah, I think eventually, your listeners don't know this, and I have plans, but I think we're going to have to reverse this whip and have you. I want to be able to interview you one day, and I think these listeners need to know more about who you are and how
we'll see.
We are here. No, and there's no we'll see. We're just going to do it, and maybe the guest won't show up one day. But.
Yeah, well. We'll see about that. We have some really good guests lined up, and maybe eventually. So, a vision of this podcast is talking about critical incidents, and anybody that listens pays attention to the opening knows it's about mistakes and growing and learning, right? We all make mistakes, and together we can grow from these mistakes. And that being said, I want you to explain how you work into DPA.
There's a long version, a short version, a medium version, and all kinds of versions I can give you. back in like 2007, 2008, I started. I got on the board here at the DPA. I came to a PAC interview where they were doing some interviewing for people for city council, and then around that time, Northeast needed a director. I became a director, and so I was a director. And every year we host a conference or a hospitality night for Crimes Against Children's conference that year. And one night, volunteer leaving here, I was driving home and I'd been drinking too much. I had a wreck. I drove off from the wreck, got caught, got arrested. About a year later, I got fired, and then right after I got fired, I had to go to court, and I wound up pleading guilty. And and then that was in like September of 2010 when I got fired. I worked a temporary job at Metro PCS doing some compliance, for the court orders and stuff, searching for bad guys' phones so they can get warrants and phone calls and records and stuff. And then that was done. I knew I was going to go back to school. And it was like, this was January 2011. I came down here to eat lunch one day with the president at the time and the treasurer, and it was Glenn White, Ron Pinkson, and Frederick Frazier. We went to go eat lunch, and I told them what my plans were, and then that was a Wednesday. And then that next day, the girl that was working at the front desk,
Tara,
she didn't show up for work. And it was about 10 o'clock. Ron called and said, "Hey, I know you don't have a job. You want a job?" I said, "Well, I'm going back to school, so I want it to be flexible because, we'll do whatever we'll work around your schedule. We'll make it work." I was like, "All right." So that was January of 2011, and I'm here. I never planned on being here 10 years. I was meant to just be here, finish my degree, which I did. I had to finish up a couple of classes at Collin County. Then I went to UTD and graduated there in fall of 2013. And things always happen. I remember I used to joke with the girls here in the office, if I'm still here in a year, things have gone drastically wrong. And I don't know if they've necessarily gone drastically wrong or they've just gone maybe right for whatever reason, and I'm still here. So right after that, I got divorced. I think that probably, I didn't feel like leaving after that. And so this place has been a home.
It's a comfort zone.
It's very, very therapeutic. You get to talk to officers all the time. You get to help officers. I think it's very cliche to say, you become an officer to help people. But, I truly had a servant's heart. I enjoy being able to talk to people. And since my DWI, there's been some changes. Right after that happened, the DPA started a safe transportation program for officers if they leave work.
That's pre-Uber.
It's all pre-Uber. So this was in 2011, 2012. And this was kind of in the works even before I got fired, to where you go out and like, oh, shoot, I drank too much. I'll call a cab. We had to deal with Cowboy Cab. They'd come pick the officer, pick you up and take you home. They wouldn't take you to another bar or party. And then they'd bill the DPA. It was a pretty successful program, but officers still got in trouble.
Yeah.
It's drinking is, first thing you lose is your ability to reason. And
yeah, one reason I wanted to have you on here, not just because I love you, dearly as a friend, but there's a lot of officers that have gone through the same thing across the country.
Yeah.
You read about it all the time. And you working here at the DPA, we provide basically legal. We provide lawyers to officers that make a mistake and get arrested or get some complaint on them or whatever. And you see a parade of officers that come in weekly, I would imagine, and they have similar incidents that's yours or something way worse.
Yeah.
And they go through the legal process just like anybody else. There is a due process for everybody, and everything works out fine.
Yeah. And just to be clear, we don't. If somebody gets arrested for DWI, they don't get an attorney from the DPA. They got to pay out of their pocket for that.
Okay.
Just so you know, that's not part of the legal coverage here.
Okay.
Now, if it's something duty related, yes, you'll be
Yes.
covered. Now, if it's something you screw up off duty like I did, I had to go out and hire my own attorneys for that. So,
going back to you getting arrested. It's an uncomfortable thing to talk about, but it's a lot. It's a lot of the things that people go through, and I remember when it happened, I heard about it, and I just felt like just shit for you, because we had other classmates that got in trouble too. A lot of officers, a lot of people drink, but the daily shit that we deal with and see over time, and coupled in with personal life, it adds up, and a lot of officers they need release somehow. They find an outlet to have fun, and different people. Everybody's different, right? And there's been times I've been out having drinks, and a lot of people do it to cope, and we're all human.
Yeah.
That's what everybody needs to remember, that even though we've gone through all this training, we've sit in an 8-month academy, we know how to handle firearms, we deal with suspects daily, and we learn from experience, but we still are human.
Yeah.
And all humans make mistakes. We just have a very unforgiving profession when it comes to things, and we're scrutinized like no other. And it's just part of it.
And I'm going to say this too. Might not be a very popular opinion, but I think we should be scrutinized because we are.
We are held to a higher standard. Yes.
We should be held to a higher standard, because when you're a police officer, you're able to take away somebody's rights. So I think that's very important. People know that, we need to be held to a different standard. But sometimes there are some privileges that come along with that. But it's one of those things that. It happens, and it's just not very forgiving, and it's. I don't have. I mean, I got all the stuff I can say about that, but it is what it is, and
yeah.
And I've never blamed the system or the department. It was my choosing. I did all that stuff, so I feel like I've owned it.
You have owned it all these years.
And I'm not going to say I was. That night, it was not for a coping anything. It was just because
fun.
It was just a fun deal. But I know. I don't ever give that as an excuse, because like I said, there's different mechanisms now that you can, or different outlets that you can use to do things better. But I know things have changed over the past 10 years with coping and different things.
Well, the night you're arrested, would you explain that? I mean, what went through your mind? I mean,
what, I can't, fear. I mean, I was scared. I was like, because I knew I'd fucked up. I was real close to my house, and I hit a poor girl that was in a rear-ended her or got out. She was fine. She wasn't dead or anything, obviously. And, she was okay, but turns out she was drunk. She got arrested for DWI too. I don't know if I ever told you that.
No, I didn't know.
And I felt guilty about that. We're just two dumb drunks trying to get home, and I screwed that up for the both of us. It was fear. Even after I drove off, I was like, what the hell did I just do? What am I going to do? And I remember being at the hospital. They were doing a blood draw, and the officer, she let me call my wife at the time, and that was a shitty phone call. And it I don't think our marriage ever recovered from that, because I think it put a lot of stress on us. But it happened.
Domino effect.
Yeah, it was one of the things that started certain things going a certain way, that it just happened. So, but it was tough. I mean, I remember, and even after that, the biggest stress I had was hiring an attorney. Coming up with money to pay for an attorney. I remember watching my video, and even I remember sitting in the back seat of the car in Plano, and a Plano officer came up to me and asked if I was a police officer. I said, yeah, and kind of gave me a pat on the back, and but it's like I said, I can't change things. Things happen for a reason. I believe that.
Yeah, we're getting into those reasons of what you've done since then, but I wanted the listener, because there's a lot of officers that have gone through this, and a lot of officers that have gone through the system, and it worked out well, and they go through the system just like any citizen, and in the process, and it works out, and they get their job back, and they learn a lesson, and they continue on with their career, and you see it all the time, and. It did not work out for you like that, but I want everybody to you can if people learn from their mistakes and they make the most out of their mistakes, and you said before you had a servant mentality.
Well, after that happened, I was lucky. I got a phone call from an officer that had been arrested and was about to get fired for DWI, and the first thing he told me is, you're going to find out who your friends are. And which I pretty much did. I got a couple of phone calls from people, and I talked. But I talked to him a lot, and it was really good. And then after that, after I got fired, when I started working here at the DPA, man, I probably called a dozen officers and said, let them know, hey, this is what I went through. Prepare for the worst, hope for the best. And I know for some people it's helped a lot, and a handful of these people have gotten their jobs back. There's actually somebody I need to call right now that something happened a couple of weeks ago. I need to give him a call. But I know when I've seen them, most of the time I don't know any of these guys, but they'll say thanks, and I'll spend a good amount of time talking on the phone with them, and some of them are in a bit of denial. Some of them are handling it better than others. But
that's with anything. I mean, but I think they probably appreciate it more coming from you because you lived it.
Well, I certainly appreciated getting that phone call I got. So that's why I figured I want to pay it forward. And I couldn't help officers anymore, or citizens anymore, but the mindset I had after that, and since I've been here, is like, well, since I can't help citizens, I need to help the people that help the citizens. Mm-hmm. And if I do whatever I can to, working for the ATO, raising money, talking to them, making sure things run smoothly here at the DPA, I figure I'm paying it forward to where other people don't have to stress about certain things. So I owe the DPA, I feel like I owe the DPA a lot, just because it's been a second home for me. I've slept here many nights. I've had many meals here. Like I said, this place has been good to me, and I work very hard paying it forward to anybody and everybody. So,
well, going on that, I want everybody to know that the Dallas Police Association and the Assist the Officer Foundation, we have several events throughout the year for officers, and also for fundraising for the ATO. There's probably not any event that goes by that you don't have a hand in behind the scenes and working your ass off to set up and to contribute and planning and organizing. There's a lot that goes on in all these events, and you work your ass off, right? I see it. You talked me into joining the ATO last year, and I was going, I don't know. I don't know if I'd be any good at that. You talked me into it, and I'm glad you did. And I get to see you a lot more, and and I think that being here and working with you is definitely rekindle our friendship, because you go to different parts of the city and work, and life happens, and you kind of people just separate for a while, but. I can't. I'm so grateful for you and everything you've done for me just in the short time I've been here. Yeah. Everybody needs motivation.
Yeah.
And you're my motivation.
Yeah. I think you can get some better motivation, but I appreciate that.
Yeah, I don't have many friends, so.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I have none.
Yeah.
You're one of my best friends, though, and what you do here and working with Jennifer and Vicky, and y'all work your ass off. There is so much behind the scenes that need to go on to make this place run, and there's not an event that goes by that doesn't have your fingerprints on it.
Well, one of the things I'd like to say I got it from my parents. I can't necessarily say where I got it from. I'd like to always think that, and I think maybe the elder first president George Bush might have said it. You always want to, wherever you go, when you leave it, you want to leave that organization or the world or wherever you're coming from in a better place than what it was when you got there. And I feel like I probably did that with some of the people I trained on the department that are doing good stuff. And especially here, we've grown exponentially from everything that happened. And, probably the first thing that made us really start growing, Joe, was Carmen Ortega.
Yes, please speak on that.
When she was an officer at Southeast. She had cancer and was battling that. And,
very young.
Yeah, and there was a lot of, that spawned our cook team. And our cook team, they started just doing a bunch of fundraising and barbecuing for officers. Anytime they're sick or fundraising events, that thing's grown. So I've been able to see that happen. And then probably right after that, another big thing that happened was this spouses group. It was her name's Christy Delgado. Her husband's since left the department. I think they moved to Colorado, but they were in the military, and she called up here one day. They wanted to have like an auxiliary deal for like a wife's group like that's in the military, and I answered the phone, and I always had to deal with her, and I'd mess with her about how that was going to work and not, and but I've been able to see the spouses group grow. That even though I don't have a spouse in it, but I think they're all my little hens because they've been Halloween and Christmas and different events. I've been there watching them grow, and I couldn't be more proud of them. I think I take a lot of pride in the stuff they've done because they get a lot of stuff done. COVID's kind of put a damper on some of their events, but they do great things, and they're pains in my asses. But I always joke with them. I said, once I leave the DPA, y'all are probably all going to get divorced because y'all's husbands are going to have to deal with y'all since I deal with them so much.
Yeah.
And that's mainly the girls on the board, and they'd probably know if they listen. They know who I'm talking about. But it's like I said, there's certain things like that. Like I said, I just getting to see things grow here. I think, and then after. Just little dominoes of things that happened with the cook team when Carmen Ortega, the spouses group, and then what happened with 7-7. I don't think if it weren't for the cook team or just certain things, how they happened, and then that spouses group, they were vital to stuff we did after the funerals, because it was, a lot of those girls could have been their husbands that any of them, so it was, it was really interesting to watch and see how that all unfolded, and I was glad to be part of it. I was talking to a retiree today on the phone, and we're talking about historical events on the department. We think they're just events, but then there's so much historical events that are happening while we're here that we don't realize maybe in the moment how big a deal it is. From working the couple of days after 9/11 when that happened, and then working. I was in disruption during Katrina, and we had to unload all these, all the evacuees off the buses, conventions. Seeing those poor people is just heart wrenching. Seeing people just, with one shoe on, getting off a bus, just carrying a sack of whatever was in there that they could bring with them, and then hearing the stories that they talked about from being on the bus ride, from being stuck in the Superdome, and in New Orleans, and all that crazy things that they had to do. The departments I got to see great things for the department, but also the DPA. A couple of years ago with Hurricane Harvey, we took a bunch of stuff to Houston to help those officers and, the people there, the officers, out in like Port Neches and Baton Rouge. We took a bunch, not Baton Rouge, Beaumont. We took a bunch of stuff out there. So I've been fortunate to do that.
It goes back to who you are as far as your passion for service.
Yeah. Well, even like I said, I'm from San Antonio. I'm still not a Mavs fan. I'm a Spurs fan. So
what?
Go Spurs, go! But even after during 7/7, there was a bunch of San Antonio officers that came up here to help us. About a year after that, on the 1-year anniversary, there was an officer that was killed in San Antonio, and there was a funeral down there, and I took a bunch of officers down there to help answer calls, and that was. I loved being able to help San Antonio because it was, my hometown. So, like I said, I'm very proud of the work I've done. I'm not going to lie.
You should be.
But, I'm proud of this podcast. I know it was your idea, but, it's, I think pushing you to do it or having to slap you around and say, hey, you need to not worry about other little bullshit stuff and suck it up. And
this podcast it's not just me that sits here and there's a lot of little things that have to go on, and you help with a lot of things behind the scenes that nobody knows about, and there's more than just sitting down and talking, and and I am very grateful for you. There's one thing that I know about. I want you to talk on that you got a phone call up here one day from a lady, and it's a pretty interesting story.
Yeah, I told you about this before in another roundabout way that kind of surprised you with it.
Yeah,
and I take for granted that I forgot about it, and it was Rob. This might have been like December of 2012. I was in a rough patch in my marriage. Some things had happened that I never really told anybody that was going on.
Yeah.
I think probably my best friend, Chris Webb, I hadn't even told him about it until I'd moved out, about getting divorced. But this was a couple of months after it happened. I got a phone call down here one day, and I assumed at the time it was an officer's wife, and she was very nervous, talking on the phone and saying, hey, I'm calling, she was asking about counseling for her husband or boyfriend, I can't remember what he was. But she was real worried about him getting in trouble. And the whole time talking to her, it was just, I've gotten phone calls like that before here, and even since then. And, usually you can gauge talking to someone if it's a little bit more different, even if it's like a runaway call or a missing person, it's any of those things you like, there's something, you can tell there's something different.
Well, your experience being a cop kind of gives you that.
Yeah, so just listening to her tell the story, I was like, man, something's off here, but I kept talking to her. I talked to her a long time. I remember giving her my cell number, and we got off the landline here, and we talked on my cell. I remember pacing around the meeting hall, and she's worried about her boyfriend. He was a vet. I think just after listening to them for a few minutes, or talking to her for a few minutes, I knew he was listening on the call with us. I don't know if she was on speaker or what, but I knew he was there. He never said anything, but I was talking to her, talking to him. I told them, about everything. I told them about my DWI. I told them about getting fired. And at that time, I told them about why I was going to probably get divorced at the time. Something that fresh just happened. It was just something that happened in my marriage, and I told them about that before I even told anybody else about it. And we talked a long time. Maybe an hour here while I was working, and then I think I even got a phone call from her.
You didn't really know these people.
No, I had no idea where they were. And I got a phone call from her even later on when I got home that night, because she had my cell and things were fine. Nothing bad happened because I didn't hear anything. But maybe the next couple of days, JD Bias, he's a SWAT negotiator, and I don't think he was a VP at the time, but he was doing a bunch of stuff for us at the time. He's a former vice president for the DPA. He came in the office one day, and I said, man, I got a weird call the other day about, I think the officer might have been suicidal, but obviously didn't do it. And then he kind of gives me a crazy look, and he goes, somehow, I don't know how it came out, but him and the other negotiators were working the suicide hotline, and they got a call from this same girl and same officer, and so somehow some of the stuff they said scared them off, or scared him off to where he didn't want to, because he was really worried about getting in trouble. And I think back then there was a stigma about officers probably being suicidal and then losing their jobs and certain things. And well, it turns out the whole time I was on the phone with the two of them, he had a gun pointed at her.
Ugh.
And I had no clue about this, and I was kind of like, oh my God. And JD was telling me, hey man, you did a good job, because obviously not gonna, nothing
bad happened.
Nothing bad happened. I don't know if the officer's still in the department. He was here a couple of years after, but I can't remember if he left. I think that very next golf tournament, man, it was probably 9 months later. We were out Sherrill Park. It was, and it was at the end of the golf tournament. I was loading the stupid trailer up. You haven't been to one of those golf tournaments because it's a lot more work because we had 2 courses. Anyway, it was a long day, and this guy comes up to me and just hugs me and says thank you. And he was pretty drunk, and he was crying, and I knew who he was because later on I found out who the officer I had been talking to was, and it was him. And he knew who I was, and I kind of knew who he was. He just came up to me, gave me a hug, crying, and said thanks. And I didn't really say much. And we never said anything after that. And like I said, I'm not sure. I can't remember if he's still in the department. I have to look, but it was very, I guess, rewarding, or I felt
come
good.
Full circle.
And I'm glad that he was doing better and that he was not in the place he was anymore. You think about some of the stuff that the suicide rate for cops is very high.
Yes.
One of the things that I've seen grow so much here is our counseling program. We got more counselors now than we ever have. More officers are using it now than they ever have. Their family and kids are using it. Their wives. These guys. We used to be able to deal with things differently. The releases aren't there.
We're in a superhero profession, and there was a stigma for so long that that's a weakness. If reaching out for help, because we're the ones people come to for help. It's not, we don't go to people for help, and we can't have that mentality anymore.
It's like putting a layer of paint on something. Like, okay,
go
to the next day, and then. You can go you get into one. Well, no, you get in one of these old houses and you start chipping away, and there's like 15 layers. Like, how is this? It's just the paint on the outside, and there's nothing left on the inside because the woods are out of the way. But that wall standing there because of all the paint, and and it's. I think we get so desensitized and we forget what we go through. But I think that's one thing that's been. I know in the past 10 years how much I've seen growing. There's so many groups out there. I know there's a lot more people we have coming up. That we have planned to talk to that deal with specifically treating the head in between the ears of officers, and I think that's very important. I hope this, people out there listening, we get there and they hear my story, they hear your story, they hear, they heard Ed's story. Mm-hmm. They get to hear more of these officers' stories about struggles and stuff they've gone through, stuff they thought about. That, I hope that we can always. Let these people know there's always hope, that there's always a light. You got to hold on to that light, that hope that you're going to get through the bad times. I know you and I have talked about some things. That you can have the hardest, toughest exterior, but there's no telling what's going on inside someone's head. And
a lot of people, they're good at masking it.
Yeah,
in memes. A lot of ways, including myself.
With memes and
we hide behind humor and
candy and
yeah,
and pictures
and stupid
pictures of your daughter.
Yeah, I don't know what you mean. Moving forward, what's next for Randy Aguilar? I don't want to see you leave here, but I want to know what you want to do to grow.
I do not know what's next. I don't necessarily want to, but I need to leave this place. It's not going to be easy. I have fear of leaving here. I don't have the comforts of to having a pension for 25 years. I kind of pissed that away. But I need to move on. I don't know how. There's some fear in it that, because there's so much fear of the unknown. I know there's lots of things I can do, but one thing I love about this place, I love helping people. I love the flexibility I love being able to do things like this.
And the relationships too.
Yeah, the friendships. And I'm not worried about the friendships. Those are going to be there.
Yeah.
The good ones are going to be there, and the people that are important to me are going to be there. But what's next? I don't know. I know it's out there. I'll know it when I find it and see it. Something a good friend of ours told me recently, back in January of this year, is, she meant it for one thing, but I've taken it as anything in my life is to live in the infinite moment. I think that's I can't worry about what's going to happen 2 days down the road. I mean, I am, but I can't let that freak me out. I got to take, everyone says day by day in sports. The cliche is inning by inning, pitch by pitch, play by play, possession by possession. It's one of those things. I think if most of us just worry about what, be in the moment that you're in. Don't worry about what's going to happen, 2 weeks down the road, a month down the road. Don't. We're getting to that age where, you said we're in our early 40s. Well, fucker, I'm getting ready to be my late 40s. So,
well, I'm with you.
But it's one of those things too. So I can't be in a hurry to get to the next phase. I got to enjoy this phase, and what's going to happen. I really can't say. There's things out there. I just got to figure out what it is I want to do and what I want to be, and we'll see what happens. I don't know. Maybe someone listening to this will want to come hire me to do something for them. I don't know.
They might.
Yeah, who knows? We'll see.
Who is there anybody out there that you would like to give a thank you to for that personally and professionally you want to thank? You have this platform.
Personally, man, and I say this, I don't say this lightly, and I know things are different for everybody, but I don't think I can thank my mom and dad enough. I'm very, very fortunate that I've had really, really good supportive parents that have, through everything I've been through, that they've been there to, I'm blessed that way, and I don't take that for granted. Sometimes I do, and I don't mean to rub it in anybody's face. But I'm very, very blessed to have that. Personally, I got great friends. You, man, I think there's a lot more to my life that people don't know that you know, and I think I can't thank you enough. Chris Webb and I, like I said, we talk all the time. Like I said, I've shared lots of things with him. But probably professionally, man, the DPA I can't thank enough, from Glenn White to Ron Pinkston to Mike Mata, the presidents here, the leadership here, they've been very good to give us autonomy to make decisions, do things. I got my hand slapped on the wrist this past golf tournament for something I screwed up. But, it's a decision I made, like I'll do it again. But like I said, I think the e-board that's here now, they're great. They're working hard. I always sometimes would wonder, like, what's the hands of the DPA going to be in the future? And I think it's going to be in good hands. There's some good young guys that are doing great stuff, that I feel comfortable that, my ego right now might be a little bit too big. I'm afraid to walk away, that I think the place will fall apart, which I know it won't. That was probably one of the most humbling experiences I ever had when I was on A-time after I got arrested. Mm-hmm. Cops, we think the world revolves around us. And I got back to work. It's like, oh, shit, stuff's still going on. People are still calling 911. People are still calling and doing everything. So
ball keeps bouncing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's one thing when it comes to first responders. I think that there's a lot of people that think, wow, hell with this place. I'm going to leave. I'll retire. You know what? Dallas PD's been in business since 1881.
There's always going to be someone to replace you. Maybe they won't be as good as you. They're probably going to be better. You never know.
They might be more efficient. You never know.
Yeah, and it's one of those things. But that was a very humbling and hard thing to accept. And I know when that happens here, the place will be fine. But like I said, I've been very fortunate. There's a lot of. I went to UTD, and and I probably have not done a very good job keeping in touch with some of those instructors out there, but I think there was a lot of good people out there. But, just this e-board from the one, probably the best thing about my job is I have bosses, but these guys that are kind of my bosses were my friends before.
Yeah, right.
And I think I'm very fortunate for that. I'm not going to say I've ever been the best or smartest at all kinds of things, but one thing I've taken pride is I've made sure that I've surrounded myself with the right people.
Yes.
And
That's
I don't know if it's because I knew what I was doing or just really dumb luck. But it's worked out good for me. So I can't. Sometimes I take that for granted, but I think I've, like I said, there's a lot of people. So, but no one in particular. But like I said, most of those guys, the presidents that have been here, that I've worked for, in these e-boards, they've all been really, really good, taking care of us, and they're a joy to work for. I put in extra effort to make sure they look good,
Right.
or try to at least.
To wrap it, take this home. I want to ask one final question.
Uh-oh.
What's your favorite ice cream? Never mind. If you could talk to a young Randy Aguilar, rookie, 20-something-year-old, what would you tell them?
Man, I don't know if I would tell, make better choices. It's this dumb thing. One of the things that I learned after my divorce, that I made a mistake on not doing. I try not to. One of the things that I've regret things you don't do. Don't regret things you do.
Right.
And that goes back to the NCAA tournament was here. This is back in 2014, and there was a free concert to see Bruce Springsteen at where the old Reunion Arena was.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember I dropped Belen off at her mom's, and I could have come down here, or could have rode the train, and it was a free concert to see the boss. And I was like, it's too lazy. And the next day, I was driving home, and I was listening to the ticket, and they were talking about how great that show was. They played they played good stuff, but just about how and I was punching my steering wheel because I was so mad at myself for not. I didn't have an excuse, so I tell my younger self, don't take advantage of that moment. Don't think, hey, it's going to happen again down the road. Take advantage of that time you have. If you get to go see a concert, go see that concert. If you're going to go take a trip, take that trip. Don't kick the can down the road. Take advantage of that like I said, that moment. And I don't know what the hell I was thinking. And since then, man, I've been to concerts by myself. I've enjoyed them. I'll sit there and go and just listen to music, and that would be one thing I would tell myself. Just take. There's a bunch of other dumb shit I could say, but just take advantage of those moments and don't regret. Don't not do something and then regret it. I don't know if that makes any sense, but make sure you do things that you're not going to regret if you don't do them. So I don't know if that makes sense.
Well, you're living life. You've helped a lot of people. You've helped a lot of officers. You're still helping officers.
Yeah.
You've helped me. You're helping this podcast, and I can't thank you enough. And I'm very grateful. Well, let's wrap this bitch up and go home.
Hopefully this gets said in the other podcasts that come out of this. But if you want more information about the ATO, go to atodallas.org. You can check out our website, check out all our services. You want to look a way to donate, you can. There's a lot of different things on there. We try to keep that up to date as possible. And I meant to write down what our Twitter handle is and our ATO page, but you can go and Google those things and we're there. But if you go to our website, you're going to see the podcast will pop up on there and how you can listen. But atodallas.org.
Man, thank you for everything. Good job, and I look forward to you working. Randy's one of our co-hosts moving forward, and you're going to hear his voice.
A silent partner.
He's a very silent partner, but he's a very key component to this. Guys, thanks for listening. Tune in to the next one, and go to atodallas.org for more information, and support us. Bye-bye.
Brother, hey sister, I'll never give up on you. Hey Mrs., hey mister, I'll see this all the way through. No matter how far the sun and the moon, I'll never give up on you. carries you heavy when the going gets tough. I'll be your shoulder, together we'll run up from the bottom, yeah, we'll rise above. Hey brother, hey sister, I'll never give up on you. Hey Mrs., hey mister, I'll see this all the way through. No matter how far the sun and the moon, I'll never give up on you. Sister, I'll never give up on you. Hey Mrs., hey mister, I'll see this all the way through. No matter how far, for the gold and the blue, I'll never give up on you.